Hello and welcome back to the Argyle CFO Leadership Forum. My name is Michael with Argyle. A couple of notes before I turn things over to our speaker. First, a quick reminder to stop by our sponsors' virtual booths at any time during today's event and for the following week. Our partners are committed to providing you with valuable content and a great overall experience. To ask questions throughout the session, simply type into the Q&A chat and we will address your questions at the end of the session. And now, without further ado, I would like to introduce our speaker, Roy Barak, Chief Executive Officer with Vindicia, who will talk about retention as a new growth engine and share key findings from the Total Economic Impact by Forrester, a commissioned study of Vindicia Retain, in his thought leadership presentation titled, Retention is the New Growth. Roy, we're happy to have you with us today. Thank you.
Thanks everyone for having me. Good afternoon. It's an interesting session to be in just after lunch, so I hope to make it a bit more lively. So thanks for joining me. I'm very excited to be here and to share with you this thought leadership session about retention, about growth. I may be speaking to you today as Vindicia CEO, but I do know your role and your seats very, very well. My career actually started years ago in corporate FP&A, and throughout the years, I've held multiple finance leadership roles. I've helped and been part of a lot of organizations' transformations and looking at revisiting their business models, implementing new metrics. So it's not a world that's very foreign to me. I also talk to people like yourselves every day. Our customers are the CFOs and the finance leaderships in many of our organizations. So I do get a lot of valuable insights from them that we can then take and share with the broader audience. So first, I want to start with a quick question. We all know that return on investment is one of the key tenets and one of the key tools we have as finance professionals in our toolbox, right? It's how we make investment decisions. It's how we prioritize when there's scarcity. It's how we measure success. So if someone from your team came to you and said, hey, I have a business case that shows 522% ROI, are you willing to listen to that? Is it something that would pique your interest? But we also know that ROI and numbers and dollars are not the only thing to measure success by, right? It's how many customers we have. It's how many subscribers do we have. It's how long do we keep them? And we all know the conversations we have with our CROs and our CMOs that come and ask for more dollars and more investment and more priority in order to acquire customers and drive significant growth. But what if there was a platform that could increase your customer lifetime value by 5 months or more without having to spend more money or invest more money on acquisition of these customers? Is that something that would pique finance professionals' interest? And if it sounds too good to be true, it's not. It's Vindicia. It's Vindicia Retain, and it's the power of our platform. Acquisition is not the end game. We all talk about how many subscribers subscription companies like Netflix and Peloton and Disney acquire, how much they grow each month or each quarter when they deliver their results. But that's not the end game. It's not just about the acquisition. The end game is really having a robust subscriber base, a robust and engaged subscriber base. You want to have as many subscribers, as many consumers on your platform, as many consumers enjoying the power and the value that your platforms and businesses bring to them. That's how you get the most out of your business financially. That's how you get the highest valuation. That's how you get the highest, market cap or a higher market cap in today's economy. It's having a lot of subscribers on the platform. It's having them there. And we at Vindicia, we work with a lot of companies across multiple industries, like Adobe, like Vimeo, New York Times, General Motors, Football Club Barcelona, and AT&T. And when we look at what all of these customers or all of these companies have in common, I mean, they're across multiple industries, but they're all part of the subscription economy. We all subscribe or have some sort of recurring relationship with them and the services that they provide. And I believe that by now, I don't need to convince any one of you or present any one of you why subscription business models are very lucrative. Studies have shown that 75% of direct-to-consumer brands will be launching recurring and subscription business models to their consumers by the end of next year. Many of them are already underway. Many of them are there already. It's a huge market here in the US. It's growing exponentially. It's also growing internationally, and we are seeing a lot of brands that have been successful in subscription businesses expand internationally to Europe, to Asia, to South America. So that is something that is definitely piquing businesses' interest, right? And just look at your own credit card statement, right? At how many you have, right? I played this game with a friend of mine the other day, and we both were amazed. He found out that he has $1,300 a month for subscription for him and his household, right? And we kind of went and dissected that, and a lot of them are really day-to-day subscriptions that we all probably have one in one form or fashion. But it's not the traditional, streaming services that we all have. It's not Netflix or Spotify or Hulu, right? We basically subscribe to almost every aspect of our lives, or can subscribe to almost every aspect of our lives. It's also not very much a saturated market. Most people say that they will add additional subscriptions to their portfolio. So while people do spend quite a sizable amount of money today on their subscription businesses, the wallet share of subscription economy is just going to continue and grow in the coming years, right? Subscriptions create a longer relationship with brands and their consumers and increase the value of your offering to them. So if you still think, growth is sales, growth eventually is driven by the number of subscribers you have on the platform, the number of subscribers that enjoy the services that you provide. And it's every part of life. We as humans we're creatures of habit, right? When we go to our favorite restaurant, it's favorite for a reason. We usually order the same dish there anyways, right? We go to the grocery store, we're probably going to get the same brand of tea or coffee or cookies or whatever we usually buy, right? We're just creatures of habit. And subscription is a way to make that habit seamlessly, take one less or one step out of the equation. It makes it that I don't need to worry about it, right? It's one thing that I need to worry about less. It's not just online, right? It may have started online with digital streaming services, et cetera, but today we can subscribe to pretty much anything we want, right? Personally, I used to subscribe to a company that provided subscription perfumes. And it's not that I'm a big fashion person or anything like that. We travel a lot, and these little 100 ml samples that they send each month are perfect for the world of TSA and tiny little samples that need to go everywhere, right? So it does go across multiple industries, right? And when we look at how we're subscribing to more and more. We do need to make sure that we drive retention in our subscriber base. It's not just about acquiring customers, it's about keeping the subscribers we have. So we need to let retention be your new growth engine. Let Vindicia Retain increase your customer lifetime value. Let us increase your overall subscriber count. Let us optimize how you manage your payment, how you increase your revenue streams. And this is where Vindicia Retain comes in, right? It's a seamless platform. We will integrate into your entire IT ecosystem easily. We're systems agnostic, IT agnostic, vendor agnostic. I like to call it BYOB, bring your own billing system. Whatever billing system, whatever ERP system, whatever backend system you have, we'll work with, right? We work with most of them anyways today. And in the past 12 months, we've saved our customers directly over $200 million worth of cash. And that's cash in their bank account that we've helped them generate. And that's from failed transactions, failed payments, right? As we go to a recurring business model, that subsequent charge on our customer's credit card, the second and third and fourth, is something that happens seamlessly, or at least supposed to happen seamlessly behind the scenes. But we know it's not always the case, right? When we actually look at it, as much as 24% of these transactions fail, and they fail through no fault of the consumer. They fail because some technical issue with the entire payment workflow. They fail for a variety of reasons, but they don't fail because the consumer actually opted out. They don't fail because the consumer doesn't have the money for the transaction to go through. And we with Vindicia Retain can recover up to 30% of those failed transactions. Think about what that will do to your P&L, to your balance sheet. Now, one of our customers, a very large enterprise here in the US, publicly traded, after they implemented Vindicia Retain, the first quarter they closed, their auditors came in and they had to re-walk them through the entire process because it had such a significant impact on their bad debt, their cash flow, their balance sheet statements, right? And it really made a difference. And that's for a Fortune 500 company. But it's not limited just to large companies, right? We work with mom and pop shops. Everyone can get the same exact service from us. We provide the exact same solution, the exact same value proposition to everyone in this industry, because at the end of the day, credit card, debit card, payment methods are the same. We all face the exact same challenges, and we all deserve the exact same solution, right? We work seamlessly with all the billing platforms. It's very simple, but don't just take my word for it. Just like we said, right? Forrester did a total economic impact study of this platform. They talked to our customers. They talked to partners. They talked to the payment industry that we work with. They interviewed a lot of people outside of my organization to validate a lot of these assumptions. And they talked to customers as big as that Fortune 500 company I mentioned earlier, and as small as our smallest, and as customers, and they all get the same, and they all get the same value. And we wanted to make sure that that stays that way, right? Implementing Vindicia Retain is a matter of weeks, and within a matter of weeks, you start to see the value, you start to see the money flowing, right? Usually, any investment that a company needs to make in implementing the solution by reallocating, internal IT resources, internal operations people, we all know that, there's some level of constraint there. Usually that is paid back within less than 6 months, right? Regardless of your company size and complexity. And like I said, within 3 years, the ROI is 522% net of any internal processes, any internal investments that you might need to make, and any fees you might pay us for that, right? That is the net value that we can bring to you. Over those 3 years, an average customer, right? It varies by industry, it varies by your size, but can make as much as $17 million net from us, right? And that is net payment optimization that we offer. By extending the customer lifetime value outside of any impact or any direct contact that we have with them, there's another $8 million or so in the mix for you guys, right? So that generates a lot of value, a lot of money for you. So when we look at Vindicia Retain, right, we understand that there's a lot of growth to be had in the market, right? Consumers are hungry for more and more subscription services. We are all, as consumers, subscribing to more. But as we subscribe to more, we do want to stay in touch and stay subscribed to the services we have, to the services we love. And we want to do it in a seamless way, right? We don't want to wake up in the middle of the month and get an email from our favorite, pet food subscription and figure out that because my credit card failed for some unknown reason, my dog's not going to get their favorite food, and now I'm going to have to deal with a very annoying and angsty dog, which is a true story that unfortunately happened to me the other month. We really do want to make sure that we as consumers stay connected. We as consumers do not have to make these additional steps in order to stay connected to these services, right? It really is about being frictionless. It really is about providing value to your consumers, to your subscribers. It really is about providing value to you, to your organization. It's making sure that by retaining more customers, retaining the customers you have a positive ROI, a significant positive ROI. You're able to grow your organization even faster. Yes, we'll still invest in acquisition. We all do that. But by investing in retention and optimizing how you interact with your consumers when it comes to payments, you can increase your retention rate quite significantly for consumers that are already there. So no matter where you are in the journey of the subscription economy, whether you're just starting out, whether you're a well-established player in this place, in this space, and you have state-of-the-art IT systems, we've got you covered, right? We will help you. We will help with the integration. We will make this seamless. And we've shown that with every single customer we've worked with, we have been able to accelerate their growth, improve their customer retention, improve their customer satisfaction because we reduce friction between them and their consumers. And that's why our customers love working with us. That's why we've been able to prove again and again our value in driving growth to the organization. And with that, I'll turn it to questions. I appreciate everyone's time.
Thank you, Roy. This was a very insightful presentation. Now, as a reminder, audience members can still enter questions, and we're now going to review some of the questions that came through. Okay, the first one I think is a very good question, Roy. On average, what is the life cycle of a customer?
So when I look at the life cycle of a customer, our customer directly of Vindicia, right? Or rather, I'll answer it from the consumer's point of view, right? When I look at a consumer's life cycle, and I'll give myself as an example, right? I go online, I go to an app store, I see some ad somewhere, and I subscribe to something, right? I go to the website, I subscribe to their platform through whatever means they have. I start to enjoy the service, right? Then the only interaction that I have with the back end of the service, think of that, settings page or account page. It rarely happens. I'll go there because you need to reset a password, you need to change a payment method, you need to, add another beneficiary to the account or something like that, right? And eventually we don't really want these subscribers to go away, right? What happens many times is through failed payment methods, issues with payment and billing systems, these subscribers just fall off the radar, right? We've all had those experiences that we walk into a shop, we swipe our physical credit card, and we get a decline. And that decline usually happens for no reason, right? We'll swipe it again a minute later and it will go through, right? The payment network is very complicated. It's getting complicated by the day with new payment methods that are being introduced. And we also want to avoid fraud, right? We're all, as finance people, we don't want fraud in our businesses. We want to be very, very careful on that. And the more fraud protection we introduce, the more complicated, the more risk averse our business become. And it drives some risk to lose existing paying customers, right? And that's where a lot of the pain that Vindicia has seen in the market is today, right? And that's what we're trying to avoid, is trying to avoid a customer that inadvertently had their subscription canceled because of some failed payment. And while, of course, a lot of these companies and a lot of your companies may send out an email or a text and other notifications of, hey, this payment method failed, that is actually another buying decision, right? If you get, think of my friend that has $1,300 of subscriptions. If he gets an email from one of the subscriptions he had and say, hey, your payment, please update your credit card. He's now thinking, should I really have this service or not, right? And we don't want to put our subscribers and consumers in this state. We want it to make it really frictionless and easy for them, right? Of course, if a subscriber chooses to leave, that's unfortunate, and that's on us to make sure that we provide the right value and you continuously increase and reiterate the value that we give our subscribers. But we don't want subscribers to leave for technical reasons. That's probably one of the lesser things that can happen to our business.
Thank you, Roy. That was great. Our next question: what is the average customer order size where your system is used, and what is the payback period?
So it's a great question. We have a vast variety of customers. We have customers that the average order size is, I want to say, as low as a couple of bucks, right? And we have customers that have their B2B, their enterprise-facing businesses work through us, and we handle transactions in the tens of thousands of dollars, right? Now, when we work with this, we actually work with our customers' payment merchant accounts. We don't touch the cash. The cash is yours, it's not mine, right? We work with your systems on your banking network. We never touch the cash. So when we recover the money, you get it immediately. It doesn't go through me at any point of the flow, right? So the payback is almost instantaneously in this case, or whatever terms each company has with their payment processors and acquirers.
That's excellent, isn't it? So our next question, how do you invest in retention?
It's a very interesting question because retention takes many shapes and forms, and it depends a lot about the industry you're in and the value proposition you have. Generally speaking, I look at the world of retention split into active churn, people who actively decided to leave my platform or my offering, and passive churn, people who unfortunately left my platform through no active step that they took. When looking at passive churn, which is where Vindicia plays, we look at how do we optimize our systems? How do we optimize our IT systems, our billing systems, our payment systems, our customer experience systems to make sure that everything sings together, everything fires at the same sequence that we want it to. Nothing happens, nothing falls apart, right? And it may resonate well with people here working in large organizations where IT tends to be made up of multiple large complicated systems with custom integrations that can drive a lot of these disconnects. But it's also true for smaller organizations, right? The more, with the quote unquote rise of SaaS and online software in recent decades, right? A lot of our companies actually have ability and access to use software and tools that they wouldn't have without that, and it gives them the ability in their IT departments to mix and match and create best of breed platforms. And if you're not careful at how you do that, you can still have some disconnect between the systems and your payment networks and your CRMs, et cetera, to drive those challenges. So looking at that and making sure you have an optimization of your payment flow and making sure you have an optimization of your customer relationship and customer entitlement workflow is very important to fight and manage passive churn. When you look at active churn, when you look at people who actively work to leave your platform, it's a matter of how do you drive continuous incremental value. And it's not just the value, it's how the perceived value comes into play. Because providing, great content on Netflix is a start, right? And for those of us who are subscribed to Netflix, I'm sure you've noticed that in recent years, we've actually started getting emails from Netflix reminding us of new content that's coming up. And, oh, you just finished watching this series, so you might actually like this. And if historically Netflix would rely on us going into Netflix day in and day out, or once a week, or whatever frequency, and interacting with them, now they're working to reinforce our interaction with them. It's a form of customer marketing. We need to market to our customers. We need to continuously reinforce the value we bring them. And we also need to increase the value that we bring them, right? Whether it's continuously introducing new items into our catalog or partnering with third-party organizations that have complementary services that we can jointly go together to the same demographic, the same consumer base, and offer a bundle or a bundle, right? A recurring bundle of services and offerings.
Thank you, Roy. The next one, you may have touched on this a bit already. What are the best practices for consumer retention?
Yeah, so when we look at best practices for retention, I would very much take one thing at each of these sides, right? So for active churn, work on your customer marketing. Make sure your marketing departments have it's not necessarily an additional person, but a job to be done and metrics at how many touch points they have with your current consumers. If you're a direct-to-consumer organization, then taking a page from Netflix book and constantly reinforcing, you finish Series A, how about Series B, right? Something that if you open the Netflix app, you will see, but just kind of pushing it to the consumer at a certain interval. If you're a B2B and you sell on a recurring business or a basis to an enterprise, or a software company selling to an enterprise, make sure you constantly have touch points with your customers, with the key stakeholders, with your customers, to reinforce what's happening with your organization. Transparency is one of my personal core tenets and values, right? So constantly telling and sharing with your customers what's going on with your business, what's the investment plans, where do you see the market going, what is coming down the pipe in terms of feature function, what you've seen their peers use and they can make better use of to improve their performance. So that's constantly reinforcing the value and perceived value of your platform and services to your customers. On the passive churn, look at your payments. We've seen, the rise of payments and credit card payments in recent decades, and yet payments still does not have a fixed home in organizations, right? Some organizations, payments sits within the CFO tower. In some tech companies, payments and credit card payments actually sits within the product tower because it's so deeply embedded into their core platform. And sometimes it's just floating around, right? So making sure you have a real owner to the payment business that manages that relationship and that has the right tools to optimize the entire ecosystem.
Nice, thank you. So we have about 2 minutes left. Got another good one here for you. How are companies measuring retention? And is there one priority measure that has been most successful?
It's a great question. The way I look at retention is to make sure that how many subscribers you've had in a given period versus the previous one, how many you've lost, right? Taking that percentage point and making sure you do that analysis, right? How many customers that I had in January are still subscribed and paying for me in February? That's my retention rate, and that's what I want to look at, right? The benchmarks vary greatly from industry to industry and from vertical to vertical. Companies who sell and have direct to consumer at higher price points, or enterprises, will usually see a retention rate in the 90% or above. Organizations that sell into SMBs, into consumers at lower price points can expect to see a lower retention point, sometimes 75%, 80, 65. It really does vary. So I think the most important thing is to establish that baseline, start measuring it and looking at it. And one last comment on that is, look at your business and look at your value proposition. You may want to start measuring retention once you have the overall metric based on segmentation, whether it's your annual plan versus your monthly plan, whether it's your premium offering versus your entry-level offering, and try to see where you're better at that, and take a page from your own success and implement that across the board with your entire organization.
Thank you, Roy. We've got about 30 seconds. Do you have any closing thoughts? These were great questions.
I appreciate all the questions, and I'm sure there's more we didn't get to, so I'll get back to, I'm happy to be in touch with everyone. You have my email here, you have the QR code for my LinkedIn profile, feel free to reach out. Retention really is something that we need to start looking at. First we grow, then we need to start retaining the customers we have while we continue to grow and to continue to drive future exponential growth for our businesses. And with that, thank you everyone, and have a great rest of your day.
Roy, thank you so much. This was such great insight into the subscription business. And with that, I want to thank everyone for joining us today for this thought leadership presentation. This session, along with all of today's content, will be available on demand following the event. Thank you, everyone.